see. Hmm, that's interesting.
Oh, that's not a good. Mm.
That's very bizarre. Hold on just one second. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna pause the recording. Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming to today. We are so excited to have MCRL in-house with us to talk about bookboard printing. MCRL Overseas Group is one of our beloved sponsors from last year and of course next year's summit, right? We're so excited you guys are back. I just want to really quick introduce you who we have here today, Lori McKnight and Taylor Watton. Lori is the marketing quarterback for the MCRL Overseas Group and bookboardprinting.com. Bookboardprinting.com is powered by the MCRL team, a Canadian-based offset printer of all genres of books, from board books to yearbooks to notebooks to custom packaging, card sets, board games, and more. Basically, if you can think of it, they can print it. Joining Lori is the team lead, Taylor Watton. Taylor is MCRL's in-house board book expert and your main contact for questions, advice, and quotes about printing your board book. Taylor and Lori are passionate about helping authors with years of experience in the printing industry. They understand how overwhelming the process can be for authors, especially when it comes to board books. Their mission is to provide a seamless, positive experience that leaves authors excited and empowered to share their creations with the world. Again, thank you so much for sponsoring us and for joining us today. And I know you had something very special that you wanted to do with our audience. I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about that before you start off doing your presentation.
Yeah, yeah, on the second slide, I'll get to that. Uh, yeah, so thank you, Amy, very much,
No problem.
and welcome all of you who made it. Sorry about the issue with the link, but we're so happy to be here and so happy you've joined us for understanding your offset printing quote. Honestly, Taylor and I have talked for probably the last year about holding a webinar on this topic, and so this is a great excuse for us to pull our knowledge and put it together for you today. So thank you for being here. Hopefully, at the end of this webinar, you'll feel less overwhelmed about requesting a print quote, and we'll be able to demystify offset printing in general, because I know there's a lot of questions and confusion about that sometimes from people. So before we get into it, a little bit about us. As Amy mentioned, we're with MCRL and boardbookprinting.com. So the examples that we're going to use in this presentation are going to be mostly hardcover children's books and board books. So I just thought I'd mention that. As the marketing quarterback, I'm going to kickstart the presentation and talk a little bit about what you need to pull your specs together, your print specs together for a quote. And then I'm going to hand it over to the real quoting expert, Taylor.
That's me.
Okay. So over the next hour, this is what we're going to cover. So we're going to start with the 10 specifications that you need in order to request a print quote, whether you're going the POD route or the offset print route. Then I'll break down some of the terms that often trip people up. And then I'll hand it over to Taylor, and she's going to walk you through an actual quote request form. And at this point, if any of you are in the market for an offset quote for your book, jot down the 10 specifications we need. And if you put those into the chat, I'll grab one of your one person's specifications, and we'll use that when we're going through the quote request form. So volunteers are welcome. And then after the quote request form, Taylor's going to pull up an example of a hard book printing quote and a board book printing quote and walk you through what that looks like, and then what to watch for when you're comparing quotes and ways that you can save on your printing quote. And at the end, we'll leave lots of time for Q&A. So if you have questions as we're going through, you can jot them in the Q&A box, and we'll address them at the end of the webinar. So hopefully after all of that, you'll feel a lot less overwhelmed and a little bit more confident when you are requesting a quote for your book. Okay, so to start it off, what you need for to get an accurate quote for your book. So there's 10 specifications that every printer needs, whether you're going KDP or Ingram Spark or an offset printer. You're going to need to pull together your trim size, which is your book size. You're going to need to know your page count, the quantity of books that you want printed, your print run, the weight of your paper, the cover thickness, your paper and cover finishes, your ink, whether you're doing black and white book or a color book or a combination, the binding that you want for your book, any additional features that you want to add to your book, and then your delivery address. If you are unsure of any of those specifications, a good printer would be happy to jump on a call with you and learn a little bit about your book, your vision for your book and your budget, and be able to help you come up with the best specifications for your project. So I'm going to break down each of those terms into a quick little explainer, because these are things that often trip people up, and so I thought I would just kind of break it down to help you understand a little bit better. So trim size. So trim size is really the final size of your book once it's printed and cut. It's usually measured in inches, width by height. And the trim size is really important to understand at the beginning of your process, because if you are planning to go the POD route, the print-on-demand printers have limited sizes. So you want to design your book in the size it's going to work for POD. If you go the offset print route, that's us, you can print any size book. So a portrait or a landscape book, anything is possible. The trade-off, though, is that the minimum order quantity with offset printers is typically 300 to 500. And that's because of the custom setup. So we have to set up custom plates for every project, and that's labor intensive. And so it doesn't make financial sense for an offset printer, or for you really for that matter, to print fewer than 300 books. But if you do go the offset printing route, you do get a superior quality product. You get the most consistent color. You can do all kinds of custom cool features that really makes your book stand out. And best of all, you do get the lowest price per book, because you're taking advantage of economies of scale. So the more books you produce, the lower cost per book, which means a higher profit margin for you. So we could do a whole webinar on POD. We actually did last year, didn't we, Taylor? Did a whole
Yes.
webinar on
Yes.
POD versus offset printing. So yeah, there's a lot of pros and cons to both. But from a trim perspective, those are kind of the two things to keep in mind as you're designing your book. And then for board books, to my knowledge, I don't believe any POD printers offer board book printing or like a bookstore quality product. So you're going to have to go the offset route. And board books are typically much smaller because they're for babies and toddlers, and have rounded corners. And then Taylor will talk a little bit more about this, but the trim size does impact your price. The least amount of paper waste usually results in the lesser the most economic printing size. So she'll talk a little bit more about that later. Page count. So this is probably the number one mistake that we see made on quotes, because it's not the number of pages in your Word document. It's actually the number of pages once you've laid out your book. So you've laid out your book in spreads. There's an example here of what a spread looks like, and one spread equals 2 pages. So when you're counting your book, each printer may have different ways of calculating page count. For us, we don't include the cover on your page count. So your first page 1 starts on the right-hand side of your inside front cover, and your last page is on the left-hand side of your inside back cover. So that's your page count, and your page count impacts the price. So you want to get that right. And when you're designing your book, your hardcover book, your page count, if you go the offset route, must be a multiple of 4. Another tip is you need to count the blank pages too. They count into your page count. So we have a great little video on our quote request form that explains how to count your pages. But that is something that trips people up a bit when they're requesting their quote. The other thing to understand is your paper weight and your board thickness when you're requesting your quote. So your inside papers is measured in grams per square meter, or in pounds. So grams of GMS is the weight of a single sheet of paper, and pounds is the weight of 500 sheets of paper. So for instance, a typical children's book would be an 80-pound paper or a 128 GSM. It's got a heavier feel. The pages, the It's got a nice weight to it, and it doesn't bleed. The cover board is measured in thickness, and that's measured in points. So a typical paperback, for instance, is a 10-point cover stock, which is 0.010 inches thick, whereas a hardcover book would be like an 80-point to 120-point thickness. So again, if that's a different language to you and that seems very confusing, your printer would be able to help you come up with the best weight and thickness for your project. Your paper coating doesn't really impact the price necessarily of your quote, but you'll often be asked for this. So you have a choice of doing a matte or a gloss coating. The matte obviously is non-reflective, a little bit smoother feel. It may show fingerprints on covers and on board books, but it wipes off. And then the gloss is just that. It's a nice shiny finish with colorful illustrations that are shiny, and it wipes nicely. In terms of paper for your quote request, each printer will have their own paper options. I just identified the paper that we have to give you an idea of the types of options that you might see. Most printers will have a white or a cream paper that you can choose from. And you can also, for us anyway, we offer Forest Stewardship Council paper, which you've probably seen that FSC badge on packaging and books. It's an internationally certified badge that shows that the company that harvested the trees that made your paper did it so in a responsible manner that didn't harm wildlife, and that it's the trees that they replant so that they create sustainable forests. You can have an SSC recycle badge or a mix badge on your book, and if you choose if you choose that type of paper, we put a free badge on your copyright page or back of your book. Another type of paper that has become quite popular is bamboo paper. And contrary to popular belief, bamboo is actually a grass rather than a tree or a plant. And it grows really quickly. Like within 3 years, you can harvest a piece of bamboo versus 40 years for a tree. And it's also very efficient at sequestering carbon dioxide, and it can be recycled. So that's become a really popular type of paper for many of our authors. And then recycled board. We really encourage our clients to use Escaboard, which is it's made by a Dutch company that's kind of trailblazing the way for sustainable production. So it's an eco-friendly product, but it also lays flat and stays flat and doesn't warp. It's a wonderful material. So when you're going through your request quote with printers, they should have a number of options for you, and it's good to understand what it is you're purchasing and what your book will be made from. Just a note on boards. There's 2 types of boards that you can choose from, especially for board books, but also for hardcover books. There's a gray board, which is the standard for hardcover books, and for kind of basic board books, it has like a gray finish along the edges, whereas whiteboard, it's a premium product. It's the same thickness as the gray, but it's nice for board books because it has a white exposed edge, which just looks a little bit more premium and finished. So you may be asked for that. So this is an example. I just wanted to bring together some of the terms that we've talked about, the trim, the weight, the paper, and the coating in an actual example. So we pulled Lucy Nolan's book. It's an 8x7.5 width by 8.7 width inch height book, landscape book. The cover is a 100-pound gloss coated paper that's wrapped around a 120-point Esca board. The paper that she shows is an 80-pound bamboo paper that's gloss coated, and the end sheet is a 105-pound matte bamboo paper. Another feature that you're going to need to pull together for your quote is your ink. We use Safe Soy ink, so it's important for the printers that you're looking at to make sure that they use a non-phthalate lead-free ink, especially if you're doing children's book printing. Obviously, black and white is the lowest cost for both POD and offset printing, but most children's picture books have pictures and are in color, so you're probably going to want some kind of color in your book. When you go the offset route, or POD, the more color pages you have, the higher the price. But with offset, you only pay for the pages that are colored. Whereas with POD, if there's any color in your pages, you're charged the color price. One little note here about color. If you are designing your book in RGB, before you send your files to a printer, you're going to need to convert your files to CMYK K. And we recommend you convert and then have a look at the color, because there can be some adjustments needed if you're really particular about a certain shade that you want. So a printer can do that conversion, but it's better if you do it and send it to the printer already converted. Book binding. Smythe Stone is by far the most common book binding for hardcover books. Basically, Smythe Stone is when groups of paper are folded together and they're into signatures, and then they're stitched with thread to form a book block, and then that book block is sewn into the cover. So you can tell the book is Smythe Stone if you open it up and you see the threads down the middle. We do other types of binding for books, as well as planners. We'll do wire or spiral. Perfect bound is often common with POD and paperbacks, but Smythe Stone by far is the most common and most durable. So the last thing that you'll need to get a print quote is you'll need to identify what additional features that you might want to add to your book. So when you go POD, you're kind of limited in terms of features, but if you go the offset route, you can really get creative with dust jackets, like this book here with a linen cover and foil decorating. Do you have a picture of that, Taylor?
Yes.
The
So this
example.
is the dust jacket for Adventures of Ren. It's actually quite beautifully done. It is a linen cover with the foil stamping. It turned out beautifully. Here it is in all of its glory. Quite beautiful.
Quite beautiful. You can also do lots of different designs, innovative type formatting, and different. This is a mix and match book that we did for an ad agency where the pages flip, and it's quite interactive. You can do emboss or deboss on the spine of your book. We did this Wiro board book for an author that has been recognized for its innovative design. You can even get into doing different kinds of inks. Sherry Fink is an author that we've been working with for many years, and she came to us a couple years ago and wanted to do a Halloween book and asked if we could come up with a glow-in-the-dark ink, and so we did. So with offset, just as I said, if you can think it, we can do it. Some other neat features that are possible are edge pattern printing, like on this Jane Austen book. Edge gilding is really nice.
And quite beautiful.
Oh yeah, there's an example one. Board book cutouts, make it fun for kids. Sound books, pop-ups, fold-outs, padded covers even. You can we've been doing hardcover books with a padded cover. They're not just for board books. You can add tactile textures or mirror pages, book boxes, branded mailers. The sky's the limit. If you're interested in looking at all the different types of features that are possible with offset, you can follow us on our Instagram handles there for more examples and printing tips. So now that you have all of your specifications, you know what specifications you need in order to get a printing quote. I'm going to hand it over to Taylor, and she's going to walk us through what it looks like to request a quote online. So at this point, if any of you have a book that you would like a quote on, I can grab your specifications and give them to Taylor as she walks through.
Yes. Okay.
I
Let me
don't.
just share here. Let's see. Fantastic. Okay.
Stop share there. Now you share.
Perfect. You might see a little black square, but that's fine. So for the sake of it, we're going to start with children's books. I'll put my information in here just to make things a lot easier. The random phone number, fantastic.
I don't think we're seeing you.
You're not seeing it?
No. If you,
It says I
I
am.
can
That's
see
weird.
it.
oh, can
Can
you?
you
Okay.
see it? Okay.
Okay, just me.
Okay.
There's
Okay.
like
So
a
we're gonna
big black
do.
box, but I can see the feet.
Yeah,
So
I've had issues with that lately. I'm not too sure. Okay. So do we have any takers for dimensions and
I don't
specifications?
see anyone.
Okay, then we'll just
You
do
have
kind
your
of a standard one.
size, yeah, if you have those size, number of pages, it might be too much to pull together this quick
Yeah,
short notice. Yeah.
not a problem. So we'll just do kind of like a standard 7 by 9 inches. Page count at 32. We'll go to the next. Typical hardcover Smithsonian binding, of course. Gloss coated. And we also have the conversion for both. So we have GSM in pounds just to make everything a lot easier. So then we hit next. End pages give you the options of specialty colored paper, which is our kind of like our in-house already printed colored end paper. That's also an option, or you can do a design on it as well. And then if you want to do paperboard, of course, if you have any other special requests like a linen, you can always put that in the comment section at the bottom of it as well. Cover finishes. We also have the conversions here. And then this is where you get into your decorative features. So you can add glitter, you can do debossing, embossing, foil stamping, or glow in the dark. Let's go with foil stamping for the sake of it. You have the options for everything that we have already discussed, sticker pages. It'll ask you how many sheets you want. Again, if you have a custom number of sheets that you would like, you can always put that in the options box at the bottom. But for purposes, we're just going to go ahead. And if you don't want to just dust jacket, that's completely fine. Hit next. And then no, and that's that. It's relatively simple. We're always available along the way if you ever get snagged on something. We'll be more than happy to help you out in that sense. That's no issue. But we do highly recommend that you take a bit of time on this, especially if you have certain aspects that you want to be sure. And that's that. Hold on, I will stop sharing. There you go. You should have it back now, Lori.
Okay, let's see. Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay, now we have the meat and potatoes.
Yes, the fun stuff. Okay, so let's break it down for you. So I've pulled up a couple of different examples of different hardcovers children books, just to kind of explain everything for you. Especially when it comes to comparing costs, comparing quotes, you want to make sure you're comparing apples to apples. So we do highly recommend that you make sure when you do get a quote from us that you have all your specs correct. So whether that be the different materials, your sizes, your page count, etc., because you want to be able to compare it with the different costs. So we do encourage that you make sure the materials are correct. Like if you have FSC rated paper, what different elements you have, like if you have like a dust jacket, foil stamping, make sure all those are correct. Make sure they're always on the quote, because again, that can differentiate costs. Also, how they will be shipped. So we always quote by sea unless otherwise asked. So we are able to ship portions by air. If you have a deadline that you need to meet, let us know and we can kind of make it work from there, because we're able to send a certain amount of units by air, so it gets there a lot faster, and the rest would come by sea. But always make sure that they have the method of shipment, because sometimes that can also be a separate cost that they don't really tell you about. And also make sure the delivery is to your door, like delivery to door. A lot of people don't mention it, like a lot of different printers don't mention it, but they do only ship to port, and the delivery after that would be up to you, which can, again, you can incur many costs from that, and it can be quite expensive. With us, it's all included, right to your door, simple and easy. You don't have to worry about anything like that. So let's see.
Next slide.
Yeah, we'll head to the next slide. So board book printing, always read the fine print. Always, always, always. I will always tell anybody that, because there's a lot of different printing companies out there that won't tell you up front their terms, or if they have certain costs that are going to be incurred with your project, they'll put that in kind of like the small fine print area. So that way they kind of cover themselves, but they won't be upfront and honest about it. So that's an unknown cost that you wouldn't know until you would receive the order. Make sure that you have, when you're comparing quotes, make sure it's either your whiteboard or gray board, rounded corners, if you have all your options on there that you need, because again, they're not going to include everything unless you request it. Just make sure when you're going through it, just make sure everything's there so you can see the savings and the benefits of your quotes. So again, we include everything on our quotes. Our quotes are all inclusive, including of shipping. There may be an extra fee if it's like a residential delivery or a tailgating. fee. It might be $70 to $85, but again, that's determined by our shipping and logistics department. Our quotes also include one physical bound proof that we send to you to physically approve before we proceed to production. We don't proceed to production unless you approve of that proof. That is very important to us. So be sure to go through it, take your time, and then let us know when you're ready to proceed with the order. We will also supply you with a timeline. We'll be very upfront about it. It will take this long, depending on your location. Of course, it varies. A lot. That's kind of like a judge of character for a good printer, is if they're upfront and honest about how long it will take. I've also experienced quite a few that don't tell you a timeline, and it's just kind of within, like, they expect you to account for like 4 to 6 weeks for delivery date after shipping. So they're never really quite upfront and honest. Okay, yeah, it can be anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks. They might be off. That's kind of a thing that we have heard from our reoccurring clients who have kind of gotten quotes elsewhere. They've been told it's 4 to 6 weeks, 4 to 8, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on where they are. That's just kind of when you're in the dark with them, which is, it's a scary thing, especially when you're coming from overseas. You're not really sure what to expect. But make sure they're very upfront and honest when it comes to the timeline. Make sure there's no hidden fees anywhere that you didn't know about. Make sure you read the terms and conditions very closely, because it'll also outline your overruns and your underruns, your artwork submission guidelines, how long the quote's valid for. Ours is at the top. Usually it's at the top of our quotes, but it's also included at the bottom where the artwork submission is. So they, again, ours also say include one bound proof, printing and delivery to one location. So if you do have a split shipment, please let us know and we'll be able to deliver it to a separate location as well. Okay, on to the next one. Again, just kind of brief overview. Not all of the printing quotes are created equal. It's really important to see what is and what isn't included on your quote. So again, the bound proof would be great for your marketing purposes. So if you're doing like a crowdfund or if you're doing like a Kickstarter, it's a great way to kind of tell your backers and your, I guess you're not really your clientele, but your clientele about what you're going to be doing. We are also able to send production pictures if that's something you'd be interested in. We can send you pictures of the production so you can see the process and have your project being made. But yes, make sure to read it, and it's delivery to final destination versus port. That's important as well. Sorry, Lori.
I was just going to say one thing that I've heard from other clients that have used other printers is that often it's a digital proof versus a hard cover proof. But you have to pay, if you have to pay extra for a hardcover proof, our recommendation would be to pay extra for it. It's really important that you have something you can flip through and just see what your margins and make sure everything looks great, in addition to having it for marketing. So, but that's a question to ask when you are looking at other quotes to see if it's a hard copy proof or a digital proof.
Or a digital proof, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. With us, another thing, when you are like, if you are doing like a rerun of something, but nothing has changed, the artwork hasn't changed, we are able to do kind of like a PDF proof to confirm everything, but we're again, we're also able to do a hardcover proof. Okay, on to the next one.
Did you talk delivery to, so.
Yes. Delivery to port versus final. Yeah, we discussed this. Delivery duty paid as well, so that's no surprise cost or customs. We have our own shipping and logistics department, who, her name is Jamie. She deals with all of your freight forwarders. She deals with all the customs paperwork, so everything's kind of all inclusive with us. You don't have to worry about any of the paperwork.
But not all printers do DDP, so yeah, that's a good question to ask when you're speaking when you're comparing quotes, is make sure you're comparing DDP into DDP, or if it's not DDP, then what are those costs, the customs costs and delivery costs, so that you're looking at an accurate comparison.
Yes. Something I always say, if the price is too good to be true, it probably is, unfortunately. So if you're looking at a price and it's a very low ball price, I guess you could say, very low price per unit and very low total, it probably isn't including all of your shipping and your proofs, because it's a very common practice is to tack on all of these extra costs, but make you sign with them, and then they kind of introduce these costs to you once you've already been in production. So it's very important to consider all of your factors into everything, especially when you're going into a new printing company, like your human support. If you have somebody who's able to talk to you and walk you through these processes, somebody who's available for your questions, that's very important. Project and production management, somebody who's on top of it, who will kind of keep you updated throughout the whole process, especially through production and shipping, because I know shipping is by sea is notoriously longer. But if somebody's able to give you updates, like weekly updates, we're more than happy to do so. Customs experience, supply chain experience. Customs is that is a very well known to be a scary experience, because when you're dealing with customs, everything has to be correct and has to be perfect. But fortunately for us, we have a great team when it comes to that. Good relationships with freight forwarders, that is also very important. If you're looking at a printer, you should ask these things. Ask them about their freight forwarding experiences, do your research into them, because they're at the end of the day, they're the ones who are going to be handling the delivery. So they're the ones that are going to be on site, I guess, more or less. And when a printing company doesn't have a good relationship with freight forwarders, it's kind of it gets
Extra
a little
timeline,
hairy,
and,
scary.
yeah,
Exactly.
goods and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's the one thing we do our absolute best to avoid. Estimated timelines, again, like I touched on it earlier, very important to get those. Make sure that they're upfront and honest with us. I know we give a tentative timeline. Once interest has been shown in a quote, we give a tentative timeline. Everything's right there. It outlines our processes and what to expect along the way. Client reviews is also very important as well. If somebody has a lot of reviews that are negative, most of the time I do recommend steering clear. Take a look into their client reviews and the referrals, see who's been referred by them or referred to them. That's definitely going to play a big factor in who you should choose. For sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Ways to save.
Many, many ways to save on a quote. So the first one would be your trim size. So the least amount of paper waste is usually going to be your biggest saver. So the most economical sizes, obviously they're 8.5 by 11 and 7 by 10, because it's less paper waste per page. If you print more with offset, the more you print, the lower the cost it is per book, which gives you a higher profit margin. Number 3 would be conscious of your page count and always ensure that you're counting in pages, not spreads. If you're counting in spreads, you might be a little surprised when we review your files and it has double the amount of pages than what has been quoted for, and we would have to requote you based on what the file size, like the file amount actually is. Color, printing in full color versus black and white. Notoriously, color is more expensive. Way we work is we quote you based on the amount of pages that you have by color. Of course, children's books is a little bit harder because most of the time they are full color, but just a good tip to kind of keep in mind when it comes to printing. This one, I know we all love to do things ourselves, but to save you the headaches and the back and forth, we do recommend that you do reach out to designers and formatters. Illustrators are not often book formatters, which is kind of, I know that's kind of a muddy subject, but to save time and the back and forth, and when it comes to like your proofing, we do recommend that hiring a designer is going to be your best bet to save the headaches of not knowing or trying to do things yourself, trying to get files set up. It's very complicated, but when you work with a designer, they're able to do it with ease. So there's not a lot of back and forth. There's no wasted time. You're not missing a deadline. There's a lot of benefits. And we do have a page that we have on our website. It's Hire Pro, and it's all designers and formatters that we've worked with in the past, that they know our processes and we know and love them. They're fantastic. The next step would be to print multiple titles in one shot. So if we have, for example, if you have one book, it's 300 units, you can also print a secondary and save on the shipping, because it would kind of just be worked into the cost. It would be a bundled cost, and so you would save on the shipping. So that's another route, which would also we would recommend. Let's go to our checklist. So we have created a checklist just to kind of give you guidance when it comes to comparing your quotes. Again, it's just kind of like a quick rundown of what we've already discussed. Comparing apples to apples, it would be, are your samples available for quality verification? Because that's very important. I know with us, we do offer a benefit if you're not ready to place an order yet, but you want to see our quality. You're able to request a sample. So it's around $35 to cover the cost of shipping, but we can include anywhere from 1 to 5 samples of clients' previous projects that they've printed with us in the past. We do send those to you for quality verification, and you can just kind of add in the comment section of certain features or what you want to see in those samples, and we will ship that to you. The next one would be, is there a printing expert on hand? Is somebody there to be able to answer your questions? Are they responsive? Do they answer their phones? Are they knowledgeable on their subjects? Reviewing your files is also a big thing. Usually we don't review files until we're ready to head to proofing. But we do supply you with templates for you to kind of use and help along the process. We do provide a lot of peace of mind. Again, printing overseas can be scary. It's kind of like a known unknown, but when you're able to talk to somebody that's in the same time zone as you or close to, it does give you a lot of peace of mind knowing that there's somebody on standby for you to access their services. The next one would be, is the quote clear and easy to understand? Descriptions of the materials that you're using that you want. Are you able to print all of your desired features? Hard copy proof included, extra fees listed, and provide an all-in price per book. And then again, tips when comparing them. Will the printer handle all the custom duty tax paperwork? In this case, we do. Shipping included to your final destination or just to the port? That's also very important. Will we provide an accurate timeline? Hot off the press photos or videos possible for marketing, which is a great tool. Are the Google reviews and Reddit, Facebook reviews positive? So again, this is just kind of like a rundown of what's good to have and what's not when it comes to comparing quotes. We do recommend that you use this as a guide when you are comparing quotes. But yeah.
That's it. We ran through that.
And that's all.
Quickly. That's it.
Excellent, ladies. Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who showed up and dealt with our little technical glitch today. Again, we profoundly apologize to Lori and Taylor for any time we may have taken away from their
No
day.
problem.
Wait while we figured everything out. So if everyone doesn't mind if we stay over just a couple minutes just so we can get through some of these questions that came in.
For sure.
And if people want to make sure their questions get answered, just make sure you put them in the Q&A box. And apologies if you answered some of these questions during the presentation. Just go give a short little overview to remind the person asking if, whatever your thoughts are. First question's from Ariane. Is bamboo more expensive than tree paper?
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay. All right.
How much more? Do you know roughly how much?
Roughly, no. Again, prices are based off of like your page count, how many you have, and like how much you will be using, especially when it comes to your size, more waste, less waste. But yes, it is generally more expensive than regular paper that we utilize.
Awesome. That makes sense though, right? Book designer Tamian says, I think the one thing that hangs my clients up is the paperweight. Are all paperweights standardized? So if I get an 80-pound paper from you or an 80-pound paper from another company, are they in fact the same quality, thickness, weight, see-throughness? Because they have the same numbers, one would assume. So we just want to clarify that.
Yeah. So one would hope that it is a standardized thing. I know I haven't heard anything otherwise that it's not. It just depends on what kind of paper. Again, if it's bamboo versus the regular paper or anything different than the normal standardized paperweight. Exactly. You can have many different additives. You can have different textures, but again, it is a standardized and recognized thing. So if you're either doing GSM or 80-pound, it should be the exact same all across the board. Yeah.
Good to know. All right, so a couple more questions from here. I also want to ask if the eco-friendly papers are more expensive.
Eco-friendly, sorry, papers?
Eco-friendly paper.
Yes. So our FSC rating, fortunately, is at no cost to you, but when it comes to obviously the bamboo paper is more expensive. So that would be kind of our guide there.
I think the FSC paper is a little bit more expensive than just regular paper because we have to pay for the certification process. But the badges are like, we'll put
Yes.
those badges on your book for free, the bamboo, the FSC, and ESCA board is a premium board, so it is a little bit extra as well. But in our mind, it's worth it. But I guess it depends. Yeah, it depends on your budget, but you do pay a
Yes.
little bit more for the eco-friendly, high quality product.
Exactly. And if you are curious on seeing the different costs, you can always add those as an option so you can see the added cost that it would be for your quote.
Oh, wow, that's really helpful. That's actually really great.
Good.
So there was also questions about edge printing. So did you want to go through
Yes.
just really quick the edge
Yeah.
printing process?
Sorry, the edge printing process.
Yes, please.
So it would be kind of the same thing as like a regular printing process. The only difference, of course, is that it's on the edges. Same for the gilding process. They're kind of two in the same. Again, we would ask for the artwork just to be vectorized. We don't necessarily want it to be like a heavy graphic. Sometimes it can be lost in the translation of it. I don't have an sorry, I don't have an example here with me of edge printing, but it does turn out beautifully. I would have to refer to Carol. So if this person who had this question would be able to follow up with me, I can refer them to Carol. She'd be able to explain it a bit more than I could, but they're virtually two in the same process. It's just
You saying like maybe
printing.
like a detailed artwork isn't the best, more of a
Yes.
like a little color design pattern, but nothing too detailed.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Do you offer to ship a quantity to Amazon as well as the remainder to the author?
Yep.
Okay. That's easy enough. Lots of things to consider,
just,
right?
just let us know what your quantity split is, and we'll be able to handle it.
Okay. Do you work with printers in the US?
Sorry,
No, we don't. Do we have,
Okay.
we don't, no, we all of our printers are overseas at the moment. Yeah,
That
unfortunately.
makes sense. It's right in the name, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do semi-gloss and stained paper?
Semi-gloss, no, I have not run into that. And for stained paper, I'm not familiar with it.
Okay, maybe that person, Laura, could clarify.
Yes,
Okay,
I
their
much
next
appreciate
question
it.
was, how many different printers do you use and how do you vet them?
We have our own team. We have our own facility in China, and so all of our printing is done through that facility. Our board books, as well as all of the other genres of books and planners and card sets. It's all done in one facility. We have a
We've
team
worked
on.
with them.
Yeah, we have a team on site at that facility that works with us and that kind of
We're in,
liaison with us and the printing team.
we're in daily communication with them. We do have we have a very, very good relationship with them. I think we've worked with them for how long now, Lori?
Since the
Just the same
beginning, I
plan.
think it's been over
The
20 years.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excellent.
If you go on to the About Us page on our website, you can see we have like a little tour of the factory. You can see the behind the scenes and what the facility looks like.
That's perfect because I'll actually grab that really quick so they can get it. And someone was asking the perfect question, which I was going to share in the chat, but do you have a specific promo for women in publishing attendees? I know we have the one from last year that I can share.
I
If you
do.
had another one that you want to put up, great.
I do.
Yes.
So it's
Okay,
we're
so
offering $100 off your first order. So when you go to either boardbookprinting.com or MCRLprinting.com and enter Alexa, you'll get $100 off your first printing quote.
perfect. And I'll put that in the chat too.
Fantastic.
While you're answering the questions here. Ellie's asking, is there a minimum print run or a maximum print run?
So our minimum is 300 units as we start at. We don't really have a maximum.
Good to know.
But the more you print, the better savings you
Yes.
will receive. Yeah.
Right, that makes sense. Because, then you do it in bulk and then you actually save
Yes.
money. Perfect. Ellie's also asking, how are books damaged during shipping handled? And does the buyer have to get insurance for that, or how do you handle that specifically?
So when it comes to shipping, unfortunately, we don't have control while it's being shipped. We package it so it does not get damaged. But again, unfortunately, those things can happen and we don't foresee them. That's why we do kind of like overruns and underruns. So we do have spares if we need them that we're able to ship to you. When it comes to insurance, that's not something you have to worry about. We kind of already have that covered when we work with our shipping companies.
But we do, we have great relationship with shippers, and it's very
Yes.
rare that there are issues. And I have heard
Yes.
that that is rare, that it's rare. Like we've
Yes,
spoken to
it's a
clients.
very rare like scenario, very rare, and that's why we do recommend you look at companies who have great relationship with their freight forwarders.
And the way that we use like a double carton box, and we have papers in between your books so you don't get the scratching. And the double carton it protects your book from getting, you know, damaged and, you know, banged up during the
Jostled.
yeah.
Very cool. Good to know, because that's something people are asking. Okay,
Yes.
Nadia's asking, would a 6x9 middle grade chapter book be printed under the children's category on your site?
Is it a paper book? A paperback? What
They
was it
didn't
again?
specify. They just said 6x9. That was the spec that they gave.
6x9
Said
hardcover
yes.
or paperback?
So,
Okay, so yes, it would be paper. Yeah, it can be.
You would go into
For
paperback. I think if she was
yes.
doing a paperback, the category would be paperbacks that she would request her quote through. Is that her
Yes, like
question?
a soft cover book. Yeah.
okay, Nadia, there, great. She said thank you. So that did answer her question.
Good.
Good. Okay. And Laura's asking, do you do soft touch lamination?
Yes.
Yes, I love that finish.
It's so pretty.
so nice.
Awesome. Well, we actually did it under time somewhat.
Oh.
So I just want to make sure, some people were asking if there was going to be a replay of this, and there definitely will be a replay. We always have a Friday email that goes out that has a replay, and we send a separate replay email. So you're definitely going to see this more than once, and it will eventually be on our YouTube channel. It'll be on demand then. So you're going to see this again, and you'll get all the information. And we are just so happy that you were able to come and present.
Oh,
And
thank you.
help us out
Thank you for
tomorrow.
having us.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry you had that stressful
Oh,
start.
I appreciate you apologizing.
Yeah.
I know that's lovely. No, I'm very happy that you guys were very cool behind the scenes, and I appreciate that very much.
Of
So
course.
can't wait to see you again this year at the upcoming summit, and make sure that you check the chat again for that promo code Alexa to get $100 off. And we have our specific womenatpublishingsummit.com/MCRL is the link that you want to go to for that. Okay.
Yes.
So, and we'll send that out in the email just to make sure everyone gets it. Okay, thanks so much, ladies, for
Great. Okay,
coming.
thanks, Amy.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you so much,
Bye,
Amy.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.